Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/AITA. In today's episode, AITA for refusing to punish or allow my wife to punish our son? AITA for demanding respect from my DIL, and if she can't then get the fuck out. AITA for yelling at my nephews until they cried and had to leave? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. AITA for refusing to punish or allow my wife to punish our son? This all started back in March. My son's best friend turned 13. In his family, 13th birthday is a huge deal. In addition to a massive party, which all four of us were invited to, his parents also took him to Disney World. They invited my son to attend as well. My wife was hesitant to consent to this. She said it was unfair to allow our son to go when our 9-year-old daughter can't. Especially since she loves Disney and princesses. I said that our kids won't always have the exact same opportunities, and if we set a precedent here, we'll have to stick to it if and when our daughter gets a similar opportunity. So we'd just be punishing both our children needlessly. My wife reluctantly agreed that we should allow our son to go. I gave our son money to buy his sister souvenirs. He did, and his friend's parents even bought extra stuff for him to give to her. Still, when she saw him come back wearing a Star Wars shirt with the Mickey hat and trading pin lanyard, she burst into tears. My wife later said we made a huge mistake and never should have let him go. I, mistakenly, thought all of that was behind us. Now, we are not well off financially, but my bill is, and he invited all of us to visit a beach house he rented for a summer send-off. My wife told me she wants to have our son stay with my dad and just take out daughter to even the score. I told my wife that isn't happening. We are their parents. We can't favor one child over the other. Not being invited to the birthday trip of a kid you barely know is in no way comparable to being left out of a family vacation, and I'm shocked she would even suggest such a thing. I refuse to allow it. Now my wife is angry, but I don't care. I'm not punishing my son for being lucky. AITA? NTA. Your wife sounds like she has a clear favorite out of the two kids and isn't afraid to show it. Of course your son should go on vacation with you all. I'm shocked that she would want him to miss out. That's awful. Is she always this unkind to him? I'm not sure it's necessarily a favorite thing, though. I think Opie's wife has good intentions, they're just misdirected and immature, but in her mind she's making things fair. NTA. But your wife? Woo-woo-whoa. When your daughter doesn't make varsity volleyball, will you pull your son from varsity baseball and punish him for making varsity the previous year, too? How about when your son makes partner, but your daughter doesn't? Oh. How about when your son has kids and your daughter miscarries? What will your wife do then? When the son gets into a college that the daughter didn't and is pressured to forego his education and future? I've seen more than a few posts about people not being able to celebrate or talk about their pregnancies in any way because a sibling or step-sibling couldn't get pregnant or had multiple miscarriages. Those stories always piss me off. NTA. Die on this hill. You were 100% correct that your kids aren't going to receive the same opportunities in life. Daughter has to learn how to handle situations like this in life, because she's not always going to be treated the same or have the same opportunities as everyone around her, and she needs to learn to handle that with grace. Also, this is your family inviting you like you said, not a child's friend. Your wife would be excluding your son from his entire family, which is just awful. Let your wife be angry about this, she's completely out of line. What a strange reaction. I wonder what the root of it really is. Info, does your wife like her son? What kind of mom excludes their child from a family vacation for no reason? Edit, the more I think about I'm appalled a mom could be so callous and cold to her gown son. Your son's mom is supposed to be his advocate and protector, not the person who hurts him emotionally. NTA. I'm curious if Opie's wife has a history of favoring her daughter over her son. What sort of parent punishes their child for having a best friend with generous parents? It's a weird take. I would also love to know if the sister is on board with leaving Big Bro at home just to settle a score? Hopefully this is mom's one-time flawed logic and not her creating a little monster out of her daughter and mistreating her son. NTA. You're right, the kids are different with their own set of friends and life opportunities. They can't and shouldn't be raised together all the time. Your wife is being incredibly unreasonable with that type of ask to even the score. Hope you get it worked out. NTA. Son doesn't need to be punished just because he got a privilege his sister didn't. Excluding him from a family vacation for some sort of justice is an absurd way of thinking. AITA for demanding respect from my DIL, and if she can't, then get the fuck out. I'm a young MIL, I'm only 39. Had my kids pretty young, and I am very lucky that my husband makes a lot of money so I don't have to work. I was a som for a long time, and once they started to spread their wings instead of going to work, my husband and I decided I would be a homemaker and be active in the community. That's what I have been up to, and I try to make the community a better place. Now my oldest son 22 married, and I was really excited until I met her. In general, she is a very business-focused person that is very blunt. I actively dislike her, but I try to be polite for my son's sake. A few examples of why I don't like her: her wedding gift I handed over saying it was from me and my husband. She responded back with "just your husband, since I know it wasn't your money that paid for it." Saying I am volunteering, well, that's not a real job since it doesn't make money. It's passive aggressive, and yes, I have talked to my son about it, and even once with her to try to clear the air. We had a get together last night and I made a homemade meal. When I was playing everything, she came up and made the comment, "No wonder I could make a home-cooked meal, I don't do anything else with my day." I lost it and told her that she needs to respect me or G out of my house. She was shocked and then started to cry when I did kick her out. My son is pissed and we had a huge argument and he called me a huge asshole. I need an outside opinion. NTA. Wow. She's a total AH. Just because you don't conform to her business-focused personality doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. What you and your husband have works for the two of you, and you volunteer for the community. Whether it pays or not doesn't take away from your commitment and responsibility you show to others. DIL is a piece of work. What does husband say to all of this? My husband hates her. I had to drag him to the wedding, only so it wouldn't destroy his and our kids' relationships. NTA. She's putting you down for being a som for what? Shits and gigs? That's very small of her. She's the asshole, and the fact that you've talked to your son about this and how he's most likely seen her make these comments makes him an asshole too. I firmly believe that you don't marry someone because they get along with your family, but that doesn't mean they get to treat your family like shit. NTA. How on earth could your son be justifying this behavior? NTA, what the hell? Who made her the boss of what women should and shouldn't do, or what does and doesn't count as contribution? She needs to keep her condescending comments and judgments to herself. NTA, somebody welcomes you into their home, cooks you a meal, and your response is backhanded comments like that? GTFO. And your son as an AH because he doesn't want to deal with the fact his wife is rude AF, and instead is making it your problem because to him that's easier than addressing the real problem. Coward for letting somebody come treat his own mother like that and just watching it happen. AITA for yelling at my nephews until they cried and had to leave? My son recently died. I have not moved his stuff other than keeping it clean. I usually leave the door to his room closed. I pick up and babysit my two nephews for around an hour on weekdays, since their mom, my sister-in-law, gets off work too late to pick them up. They are 11 and 13. Usually they are well behaved and do their own thing, or even sometimes help me with chores. On Friday, I was cooking a very pungent soup, so I aired the whole house out by opening all the windows and doors. I should have left my son's room closed in hindsight, but I think I opened it out of habit. When their mom went to pick up her kids, I went to get them and saw them messing around with my son's guitar. The older one was messing with the string screws while the younger one was plucking at the strings. I admittedly freaked out a lot and I raised my voice at them, which I have never done. I said, "What are you doing? Drop that right now. What are you even doing in his room? Get out. Never come in this room again." At that point they started crying. I pulled the guitar away, and their mother came in. She tried to mediate the situation and console them, but I told them all to get out of my house and they left. The guitar was thankfully okay and not scratched. Their mom called me later to talk and apologized on their behalf, but told me that she thinks that we should all have a sit down and apologize to each other. She told me that I really scared her boys, and that although she thinks what I did was understandable, I overreacted in front of them. She told me that at the end of the day, they didn't really do anything harmful and that they deserve an apology from me too. I told her I do think that I overreacted, but that I wasn't sorry because they could have broke my son's guitar. She told me that it's extremely cruel to ever raise your voice at children and that I should be the bigger person. Was I the asshole for doing that? NAH here. You're all grieving. You lost your son, my condolences, and they lost their cousin. They're just kids. Xyl is keeping a level head here. She gave you an olive branch. Being a kid is difficult and they didn't intend to hurt you. She expects her sons to apologize to you, and it would be courteous if you apologize too and explain why you reacted the way you did. Edit, accidentally wrote uncle not cousin. Thanks to those who pointed it out. Edit 2, for people who ask why I made the NAH verdict. I wrote this as a response to a specific comment, but I will put it here too. OP lost her child. She's grief-stricken and will grieve for the rest of her life. Right now, the loss is fresh. She won't watch him grow up, and she will never get to be with him again. Her son's room is now a memorial that she doesn't want disturbed. This was her coping mechanism, and her nephews accidentally disturbed it. People can react in extreme ways from heartbreak, and the world would be a better place if we gave each other grace. She acted out of grief and all the emotions that come with heartbreak, not malicious intent. Nah. Your response was understandable, to an adult, not a kid. It sounds like your SIL is really trying to mediate this and support you. I think you kind of would be TA if you refused to just sit down and explain to the boys why you yelled and why you'd rather they didn't go in your son's room. This is it exactly, they're 11 and 13, not 4 and 6. They are fully capable of having a mature conversation and understanding why you were upset. And of course it's not your responsibility to manage their grief while you have your own, but is it possible they were messing with the guitar because they missed their cousin? This may be an opportunity to help everyone heal, not the right word, but I can't find a suitable substitute, from the loss. NAH, look after yourself OP. NTA for reacting as you did in the heat of the moment. But it doesn't sound like your nephews meant any harm or had it properly explained to them why your son's room was off limits. Your SIL's advice seems good to me. Sit down with your nephews and explain why you reacted as you did, and you're sorry you shouted at them, and in future, even if the door of that room is open, they are not ever to go in without explicit and specific permission from you. Wait, so who are you calling TA? NTA means someone else is. Why TA if you don't follow your SIL's advice and sit down to talk it out with the kids? They sound like good kids who overstepped because they didn't understand the way you feel about your son's possessions. Your SIL is being very kind about this, and I think her idea of a mutual apology is a good one. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.